property in North Richmond Hill. So our location, we are closest to Bayview Avenue and Stouffville Road. We're just north of that. So very close to the new Oak Ridges community, well, relatively new Oak Ridges Community Centre. We're across the road from that location. 350 acres that opened as an outdoor education centre in 1971, prior to which it was owned by the Snively family, who donated it to the Conservation Authority with the understanding that it would be kept in its natural state. And so the decision was made to operate it as a centre, and it's operated until 2020 non-stop as an outdoor education facility. So we have 2 dormitories on site, and we can accommodate up to 78 students at any given time. So our typical model is we would have school groups come and book with us for 2.5 days. They'd come and they'd sleep in our buildings for 2 nights, and we would run them through all sorts of outdoor programming, from team building and leadership skills to campfire building and ecology and nature ID. And we have very recently broadened out and have been offering canoe certifications through myself and some of my certified staff as well. So we really have been trying to keep the history of the place alive, but also expanding into what we can do with our school groups. So that's been the model for previous 30, 40 years. What we've started to do in 2018 was really branch out. And that's why I always like when Marge in her introduction said, and it's in Richmond Hill, and we're a very little known secret. It's a beautiful property, and the jewel in our crown really is Lake St. George itself. It's a glacial lake, so estimates are around 10,000 years old. That body of water has been there, formation at the same period as the Oak Ridges Moraine. And so we have the opportunity to take students out there. But what we wanted to do was really broaden our reach and open up the facility to other groups outside of our typical demographic. So in 2008, what we started to do was run what we've been calling family programs or community-based programs. So they're all fee-for-service because we have operating costs to keep the facility running. But we've been able to do community hikes. We've been working on canoe programming and certifications, and just in I'm talking, this is pre-COVID world, we were just on the cusp of launching canoe certifications overnight for family groups to come and stay on site, and we would run them through all the canoe training and all the stuff they would need through ORCA, the Ontario Recreational Canoe Kayak Association. And as a part of that expansion, we were also rolling out March break camps and summer camps, in-house summer camps as well. So 2020 was set to be a very big year for us because we were rolling out all sorts of brand new programs, very exciting time. And March break had filled. We had fantastic March break registration. I was very, very excited and we were starting to hear rumblings of there's this COVID virus coming through, and I sent out reassuring emails on the Friday just before the March break of 2020 to my parents, who were ready to say, okay, yeah, no, we're good, don't you worry, we've got all these measures in place, here's what we're going to do to keep you safe. I drove home, and by the time I got home, we'd had the call from those above, say, you know what, no, we have to cancel the March break camp. And at that point, it all stopped. Everything, as you can imagine, everything just stopped. Our whole operation is built on face-to-face contact, looking in at plants, and so our whole model had to change. And so what we did is we pivoted several times, but where we've ended up in the operation right now, and I'm just keeping an eye on, I could talk for 10 minutes just about the history of the place, but where we've ended up right now is we are operating in partnership with York Region. We're operating in our dormitories, self-isolation shelters for people who are within the shelter system who don't have alternate locations to go if they're diagnosed with COVID or are awaiting results. So one of the ways we've adapted to COVID is just to make those beds available, but we know we can't get school groups on because they're not doing a thing. They're not doing anything out of school. So that is in place right now. We do have clients on site right now, and they have just extended that agreement until November. So they're not that they're anticipating there's going to be huge volumes of people, but just having those beds in place for people who need them till November, till we can then recommence our operations, which I'm really looking at spring of 2021. January, maybe day visits with school groups who are starting to ease out as we move into the post-COVID world. but our more typical operation of overnights, I'm not anticipating anything happening until spring of 2022 at this point. So some of our adaptations beyond that, so that's happening on site. But what we've also done, because we have school board partners with Toronto Catholic District School Board, York Region District School Board, who come to us as this is their year-end trip, or this is the big culminating part of the year for many of their students. And we wanted to try to honor and maintain those relationships. So we pivoted. One of our pivots was to offer virtual programming. A lot of similar organizations, Toronto Zoo, the ROM, the Science Center, we've all moved to this virtual model. So we try to take the essence and the spirit of what we do and translate it as best we can into an environment in which we're living right now. So we've been doing customized virtual nature programs where some staff are on site at Lake St. George, taking classes on a mobile device on a hike through the property, trying to really bring the field trip to the classroom as best we can. And we work closely with the teachers to make sure we're covering the content that they want us to do. A very cool thing we put together for York Region District School Board was a virtual tour of the Humber River. So we pre-recorded some videos. I have one of my teachers out there paddling early in the spring, trying to do a virtual tour of the Humber River. And then we attached those videos to a Google Earth platform. And so there's modules so these students can actually follow us down the Humber River with videos and activities of points of interest and historical facts, and really the development of the Humber all the way down from Lake St. George, because we have the east branch of the Humber River actually begins at our location, all the way down to the mouth of that beautiful archway at the butterfly meadow there, right onto Lake Ontario. So that's been really well received. I mean, obviously it does, again, can't capture the spirit, even the feel of the paddle in the water, but we're trying just to give these students some spirit of what we can do, in the hopes that we can then rebuild the full experience for them down the line. And yes, you mentioned it earlier on, March. The best news is we've been given approval to launch and actually run in-person summer camps. So this is the first step towards rebuilding the operation. So this year we're operating at the Swan Lake location, which is on Bethesda Side Road across the road from Lake St. George, and it actually touches on the Oak Ridges Corridor Trail, which many of you may be familiar with as well. So our registration is going very well, and I think there's a lot of appetite just to get away from the screens and do some of the hands-on programming. So I'm very excited to finally be building something back up again. I notice I'm probably out of time there, Marge, but are there any questions or anything you'd like me to talk further about?